Listen up, everybody. Under the U.S. Constitution's First Amendment, everyone in the United States has the constitutional right to peaceably assemble and petition the government for a redress of grievances. So, under the First Amendment, we have the right to peacefully assemble and peacefully protest. Peaceful is the big word there. So, what we are seeing, first of all, what we are seeing happening in Los Angeles is not going to be limited to Los Angeles. We need to get that in our heads first. Donald Trump is going to try to implement a police state in every single sanctuary city, or as he calls it, sanctuary jurisdiction, in his executive orders from April 28th. So as he has deployed the National Guard, he's currently on social media calling on the arrest of people wearing masks and calling for the troops to go into LA because the protests are evidently getting out of hand. Now I want to bring you to why. Donald Trump's federal forces fired tear gas, escalated the situation yesterday and today, and they continue to become a nuisance for the people of Los Angeles. So the people of Los Angeles came out, and the first day there were largely peaceful protests, and the National Guard didn't even make it to LA. Well, today the National Guard is in LA, but has not been deployed where evidently there's graffitiing, burning of cars, etc. So showing physical violence, destroying police cars, kicking back tear gas canisters. These are all very, in the moment heated things. Whatever expression they might elicit, they are not peaceful protest. When you burn something, when you burn cars, when you destroy police cars, when you go into a confrontation with the police forces, then it is no longer peaceful protest. But as we're seeing, law enforcement is also fraying. We just heard news that an Australian journalist was targeted and shot by a non-lethal bullet by an LAPD officer. Now, we don't know if that was an LAPD officer or not, or what the context was there, but it's on video. It's on video that a journalist got shot with a non-lethal rubber bullet. So, every time the people escalate in tandem with Donald Trump pouring fuel on the fire, it gives Donald Trump and gives the police an excuse to bear down upon citizens. So that's why it is important to note that we have a right to peaceably protest. That means you can be as loud as you want, as flamboyant as you want, as expressive as you want, but not to the point of destroying property, not to the point of defacing property, not to the point of confronting law enforcement officers. Now, I want to remind you of three people in our history who have upended the largest empires just through nonviolent non-cooperation. Mahatma Gandhi did that with the British Empire. Nelson Mandela did that with the apartheid regime. And Martin Luther King Jr. did the civil rights movement by nonviolent non-cooperation. Heroes like John Lewis going through that bridge and being beaten and not doing anything to beat back. That is very, I mean, it might seem anti or it might seem counterintuitive, but when you see that you are standing there and when the world sees it, others see that you are standing there doing nothing while the police and law enforcement are attacking you, that you are just sitting there, that you are just waving a flag, the power it speaks to everybody else that in the face of violence, this citizen stood and withstood it and had the restraint and self-restraint to not retort back in the same way. You know, I've heard critiques of this approach from people saying that, well, yeah, that's what you would say to a victim in an abusive relationship. Let me tell you something. I've been in an abusive relationship. I've been the victim in an abusive relationship, and that the dynamic and this simply are not analogous. And if you were to draw the analogy, then the victim in that abusive relationship has peaceful recourses. They can gather what's broken, they can take what is theirs, and they can walk out the door. Or they can just sit still and not do anything, not talk, not say anything, and then when the time is right, speak up and rid themselves of that abusive partner without becoming violent yourself. It is when you think about offense and defense, you think about if somebody hits you, you hit him back. That's defense. No, that's not defense. When somebody hits you and you put up your arm, that's defense. If somebody hits you and you hit them back, you have both assaulted each other. But if you confront that violence and you stand still in the face of it, if you don't destroy, if you're there to leave only productive messages, if you don't graffiti, if you don't threaten to dox ICE as heinous as they are, if you are against the police brutality that we will see in the coming days, then you have to stand in front of it and withstand that pain. And when they see that their outrageous actions, their illegal actions of removing people without due process of law or warrants, more and more people will see and stand with you. More and more people will refuse to burn down self-driving cars and set dumpsters on fire and just do maddening things that would give Donald Trump every reason to let federal forces come into civilian streets. And once it does, it is going to happen in every other sanctuary city that Donald Trump goes to. So every protester, it is my plea to you. Please protest peacefully. Please demonstrate peacefully. Please speak up loudly with bullhorns. Dance, sing, chant. If you want, in LA, in a city like LA, you are disrupting the traffic and the lives of your fellow Angelenos if you block highways. If you are, however, standing outside the ICE detention center, public area, you have the right to peaceably protest there. If you are peaceful, you can fly whatever flag you want, but flying the Mexican flag really doesn't send the right message if you think about protesting. You can fly the American flag. Somebody burned the American flag. That's also expression. So, but it gets closer and closer and closer to giving Donald Trump a reason to breach state sovereignty and go into civilian streets when you become violent, when you see burning cars and confrontations with law enforcement, whether that be the feds or the local. This has to be done methodically. Your protests have to be tailored. Your protests have to be cognizant of the threat that we face today, and realize that force against force is not the solution. Force, protest. That's the way to go. And how do you keep on peacefully protesting? You don't hit back. You stand your ground. You keep speaking truth to power. If they push you aside, you stand where they pushed you aside and you still speak truth to power. You follow them. You speak truth to power. Every chance you get. But don't be violent. Don't be destructive. Don't destroy your own city. Don't get in the way of your own citizens. Don't give Donald Trump a reason to create the police state he so desperately wants to create nationwide. Don't give him that chance. Please. Thank you for listening.